What's up, fiction fanatics? Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the darkest corners of fictional horror. Today we're stepping into the blood-soaked waters of Camp Crystal Lake to rank the absolute scariest Friday the 13th movies that have haunted our nightmares for decades. From Jason's first kill to his most brutal massacres, we're counting down 6 of the most terrifying entries in this legendary slasher franchise. So, grab your machete, check your cabin doors, and let's explore why Jason Voorhees remains one of fiction's most relentless killers. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, 1986. Starting our list at number 6, Jason Lives brought our hockey-masked killer back from the dead in the most literal sense. What makes this entry genuinely terrifying isn't just Jason's supernatural resurrection, but how the film establishes him as an unstoppable force of nature. The opening graveyard sequence, where Tommy Jarvis accidentally brings Jason back to life with a lightning strike, sets the tone perfectly. Jason's kills become more creative and brutal. The triple decapitation scene and the RV massacre showcase a Jason who's not just angry, but methodically sadistic. The film's genius lies in its self-awareness without sacrificing genuine scares. Jason's superhuman strength is on full display as he bends metal bars, punches through steel, and survives explosions that would obliterate any normal person. The final boat chase sequence remains one of the franchise's most intense moments, with Jason walking along the lake bottom like some aquatic Terminator. What elevates the fear factor is Jason's complete silence and mechanical precision. He doesn't run, he doesn't need to. He simply appears, kills, and moves on to the next victim with the inevitability of death itself. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, 1988. At number 5, The New Blood introduces us to Tina Shepard, a telekinetic teenager whose psychic powers accidentally free Jason from his watery grave. This entry terrifies because it strips away any hope that normal human intervention can stop Jason. The film's opening act builds dread masterfully as we see Jason's decomposed, zombie-like appearance, his exposed ribcage, rotting flesh, and that iconic hockey mask now cracked and weathered. This isn't just a killer, this is a walking corpse driven by pure malevolence. The kills in The New Blood are particularly vicious. The sleeping bag murder remains one of the franchise's most shocking moments. Jason grabs a camper in her sleeping bag and slams her against a tree with such force that it's both sudden and brutal. The hedge trimmer kills and the party horn through the eye showcase Jason's twisted creativity. What makes this entry especially scary is the psychic battle between Tina and Jason. Even with supernatural powers, Tina barely manages to slow Jason down. The final confrontation, where she uses her telekinesis to resurrect her dead father from the lake to drag Jason back down, creates a genuinely supernatural horror atmosphere that goes beyond typical slasher scares. Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, 1984. Number 4 on our list, The Final Chapter, delivers some of the franchise's most realistic and disturbing kills. What makes this entry particularly terrifying is how it grounds Jason's violence in a more believable human context, before revealing the true extent of his inhuman nature. The film opens with Jason surviving what should have been fatal injuries from Part 3, immediately establishing that normal rules don't apply to him. But it's the hospital massacre that sets the tone. Jason's kills become more personal and sadistic, like the corkscrew through the hand and the brutal axe murder of the nurse. The Jarvis family dynamic adds genuine emotional stakes. When Jason targets a normal suburban family, including young Tommy Jarvis, the horror becomes more relatable and intense. The film's genius is making us care about the victims before Jason systematically hunts them down. The skinny-dipping double murder showcases Jason's ability to kill multiple victims simultaneously with terrifying efficiency. But it's the final act where Tommy uses Jason's own psychology against him, shaving his head to resemble young Jason. That creates one of the franchise's most psychologically complex moments. The film's climax, where Tommy repeatedly hacks at Jason's body in a frenzy, suggests that defeating this monster requires becoming monstrous yourself, adding a layer of psychological horror that elevates it above simple slasher fare. Friday the 13th, Part 2, 1981. Taking the bronze medal, Part 2 introduces us to adult Jason Voorhees and establishes the template for everything that makes him terrifying. What makes this entry so scary is how it builds Jason as a credible, human threat before revealing his supernatural resilience. The film's opening, where Jason kills Alice Hardy, the sole survivor from the first film, in her own apartment, immediately establishes that nowhere is safe and no victory is permanent. This Jason, still wearing a burlap sack instead of his iconic hockey mask, feels more human and therefore more believable as a threat. The counselor training camp setting creates perfect isolated horror. Jason's kills are more grounded and realistic. The machete through the wheelchair-bound Mark, the spear through both lovers simultaneously, and the brutal hammer-claw murder showcase a killer who's methodical but still recognizably human in his approach. What elevates the terror is Jason's intelligence and planning. He sets traps, uses the environment to his advantage, and demonstrates tactical thinking that makes him more than just a mindless killer. The shrine to his mother, complete with her severed head, reveals Jason's psychological motivation while highlighting his complete detachment from reality. The final girl, Ginny's psychological warfare, pretending to be Jason's mother, creates one of the franchise's most intense climactic sequences, proving that Jason's greatest weakness might be his twisted love for the woman who created this monster. Friday the 13th, 1980. Our runner-up is the original film that started the nightmare. What makes the 1980 Friday the 13th so terrifying isn't Jason at all. It's his mother, Pamela Voorhees, and the complete subversion of expectations that creates genuine, lasting fear. The film builds dread through atmosphere and mystery. Camp Crystal Lake feels cursed from the opening moments, with locals warning about its death curse and the history of drownings, fires, and murders. The isolated setting, combined with the approaching storm, creates a perfect pressure cooker of tension. Mrs. Voorhees as the killer is genuinely shocking because she appears as a helpful, motherly figure before revealing herself as a psychotic murderer driven by grief and revenge. Betsy Palmer's performance switches from nurturing to homicidal with terrifying believability. The kills in the original are brutal and creative. Kevin Bacon's arrow through the throat from beneath the bed, the axe to Annie's throat, and the brutal decapitation of Marcy showcase Tom Savini's groundbreaking special effects work that still holds up today. But what makes this film truly scary is its psychological foundation. Mrs. Voorhees isn't killing for pleasure. She's avenging her son's death, making her both sympathetic and terrifying. Her conversations with Jason reveal a complete break from reality that's more disturbing than any supernatural element. The film's final scare, Jason bursting from the lake to drag Alice underwater, creates one of cinema's most effective jump scares while setting up the mythology that would define the franchise. Friday the 13th Part 3, 1982. Taking the top spot as the scariest Friday the 13th movie, Part 3 perfects the Jason formula while introducing the iconic hockey mask that would become synonymous with cinematic terror. What makes Part 3 absolutely terrifying is how it presents Jason at his most human, yet most inhuman. He's still recognizably a person. He can be hurt, he bleeds, he shows cunning and planning. But his resilience and brutality have reached superhuman levels. The 3D effects, while gimmicky, actually enhance the horror by making Jason's kills feel more immediate and visceral. The yo-yo kill, the harpoon gun murder, and the brutal handstand kill showcase Jason's creativity and strength in ways that feel genuinely threatening to the audience. The film's genius is in its pacing and escalation. Jason systematically eliminates the group, each kill more brutal than the last, building to the barn sequence where final girl Chris Higgins must face him alone. The confined space creates claustrophobic terror as Jason uses farming equipment and his bare hands to create maximum carnage. But it's the introduction of the hockey mask that elevates this entry to legendary status. When Jason puts on that mask, he transforms from a deformed killer into an icon of pure evil. The mask dehumanizes him completely while making him instantly recognizable and infinitely more terrifying. The film's climax, where Chris seemingly kills Jason multiple times, only to have him return again and again, establishes the template for Jason's supernatural resilience that would define the character for decades. And there you have it, fiction's scariest Friday the 13th movies, ranked by pure terror factor. From Mrs. Voorhees' psychological breakdown to Jason's evolution into an unstoppable supernatural force, these films have defined slasher horror for over 4 decades. What makes Jason Voorhees so enduringly terrifying isn't just his kills or his mask. It's his representation of unstoppable, inevitable death. He doesn't negotiate, he doesn't explain, he appears and destroys everything in his path. Which Friday the 13th movie keeps you awake at night? Did I miss your favorite terrifying moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into fiction's most frightening universes. Remember, Camp Crystal Lake is always open for new visitors, but checkout time is permanent. Until next time, remember that some legends never die. They just wait in the shadows for the next group of victims.